test. I think I can clear up. Like I told the other class, next year, I don't know what will happen if the classes will be separated, but next year, you should request that since you had to take math, the first class of sixth grade to take math this year, that next year you be the second class. Because I learned so much from you that I do and don't do with the next class. Sometimes I crash and burn, believe it or not. I mean, different ways that I would say something. Stuff that did, yes, it is. But most times I don't have any guinea pigs at all, so. Now, Piper, what has happened is I really thought I walked up here with my book that had the answers, and I really don't know where I put it. Hold on. Oh yeah, it's right there, I got it. Don't you worry, I'm gonna find it. I could tell you we're very upset about that.
Yeah.
Well, the PJs are very
Your priorities.
These are not PJs, these are what I read.
I love the flags.
Yeah, he wears this every day. You guys don't know that.
I love the flags.
Who wears jeans?
Definitely
Oh,
not.
you're
The
the
teachers.
old
Well, all right, here we go. No wonder, here was a paper. Answer to number one should be what? Soap or Olivia?
1/5.
How about 1/5? 1/5. Number two. Camille?
2 1/2.
2 1/2. 2 1/2. 3, McKenna Kraftmeyer?
24%.
24%. 24%. Number 4, Hart?
216.
216%. Number 5, Bryn?
40%.
40%. 40%. 6 asked for 2 answers, Isaiah, both the fraction and the percent, which would be
2/5 and 40%.
2/5 and 40%. 7, Anna C.
0.81.
0.81. 0.81. Number 8, Ari.
0.05.
0.05. 0.05. Number 9, Oscar.
1.86.
1.86. 1.86. Number 10, Kittredge.
51%.
51%. Number 11, Emmy.
120%.
120%. Number 12, Pipe.
0.0003%.
Should just be 0.3%. 0.3%. 13, Cash. 2 answers, both as a fraction and as a decimal.
21/100 and 0.21.
21 over 100 and 0.21. Number 14, Lincoln.
64/100 and 0.64.
Well, now again, this is what for tomorrow's test. Please always look to see if you can reduce, because yes, 0.64 is correct, but the reduced fraction for 64 over 100 is 16/25. 16/25.
So that's wrong.
That would be wrong. Unfortunately, life at some point has to slap you in the face.
Mine's already slapped.
If you keep allowing it, then people keep doing it. So until you actually put it on the line. Number 15, which one would you circle, Hart?
3/4.
3/4 is bigger than 70%. Number 16, Ari?
They're equal.
They are equal. They are equal. So just put an equal sign in there. Neither one's bigger than the other.
So what if I circle that?
That would be wrong because you circled what you thought was the big one. Number 17, from least to greatest, would be 63%, then 0.64, then 13/20. 63%, 0.64, then 13/20. Number 18 should be 20. 18 is 20. 19 is, this was probably the toughest one, and a lot of people came back and asked me, in this one, because you have the two numbers that get multiplied, just multiply them together rather than using the box thing. You get 22.88. 22.88.
Yes.
And number 20, 30% of what number is 9? That would be 30.
Yes.
20 is 30. And account.
What was 4?
4 should have been 216%. Emmy.
What was number 18, 16?
Well, let's do one at a time. 18 is 20. 18 is 20. 16 is equal to. And then your other question was what?
What was 15?
15 should have been 3/4.
Brent. 4.
What was 7?
Number 7 is 0.81.
And could you do,
When we get to the doing section, let me answer the questions and answers first, and then we'll do the doing one just so everybody is kind of following along in this thing. McKenna.
I have 2 questions.
Oh,
On 18,
on 18,
I did the box thing,
Sure.
but should we have just multiplied it?
you could. It's your choice. How about that? Anytime you know the percent and the odd number, you can skip the whole box and multiply. It's just that easy. What was your second question?
For number 5, could you do like another example of that one?
Yeah, I'm gonna talk about that. I think that was remember I said I lived and learned with your class to the other class? Ooh, good job. Cash Johnson.
What was number 5?
5 again was 40%. Camille.
Can you do number 4?
Yes, I will do lots of them. Answers first here. Nancy,
What was the answer to 3, 5, and 6?
3 is 24%, 5 is 40%, and 6 is the fraction 2/5 and the percent 40%. And
What's number 4? What's the answer to number 4?
216%. Josh, you can find one on my desk, sir. All right. I would like for you, I will allow you to use this paper on the test. If you take out a blank piece of paper, I'm going to give you some helpful hints here again. I will allow you to jot this down. Hopefully this will help you out. So this for some notes for you. Okay. So here we go. When it comes to percents, when they ask you a question, here are the three different types of, I want to call them story problems. Okay, and you have to recognize the story problems that have the words of and is and what number. If you see those 3 words in the problem, this is this type of problem. We talked about this yesterday. There's 3 different types of that, and I'm going to give you all 3. Let's say you have, let's change it. Let's say you have 20% of, I don't know, let's say 20% of 30 is what number? Okay, let me flip it around and say, let's change this and say 20% of what number is 30. Okay. The other type, this is where I learned from the last time. The other type is, notice in both of these problems, I was given the percent. Okay. The other type is when you don't get the percent and you have to figure out the percent. And that's the one I think McKenna asked me to go over again today. So this would be what percent of, let's say,
40.
let me do it easy. What percent of, let's say, 50 is 25? Let's just do something easy. Those are the three types. When you're missing, you're always gonna be given two of these three things and you just need to figure out the third one. Okay, if you struggle at all with that, I strongly suggest that you do the same box that we've talked about doing here. All three of them. Hope you like yourself some. I wish I would have left myself a little more room. But I gotta try to fit it all.
What was the last problem you put?
What percent of 50 is 25? Okay, and remember, we can fill in, this is the part, all these boxes are gonna look like this. This first column is gonna be the percent. And the last column, the top number is the is number and the bottom number is the of number. And that does not change. It's just which of those three do you know. Now, there is one number, no matter what, that you can put in all three of those boxes without even looking at any of the problems or any of the things. And what would that be, Ari?
100.
And where would that 100 be?
The bottom left corner.
In percentages, it's always some number over 100. So it doesn't matter which of these three, the bottom is always going to be 100 in that percent. Okay, so automatically. Now it's just a matter of filling in where the other two numbers go. And in this one, you know the percent, so that goes with the percent 20. And you know the of number, which is 30, right? On the second one, you know the percent number again, which is still 20. But this time you know the is number, so that goes here. And then on the bottom one, you don't know the percent, but you know both the is and the of. Look at the of is 50, and the is number is
25.
25. So you just have to find in each one of those three different cases the missing thing. And let's investigate both of these. Remember, there's multiple ways we can do this. The first one you look at is, can I go from 100 to 30? Not really. The second thing is you could look from top to bottom. Is there a relationship between 20 and 100? There is, which would be, sure, I could divide them both by 10. Let's just go there. Divide them both by 10, I get 2 over 10, right? And then you can kind of forget about this and just work from 2/10 is how many 30s. How do I go from 10 to 30? Times 3, so the top times 3 is 6. So my answer to the top one is what number? Is 6. The next one, kind of the same deal. I can go from 20 to 30, but I can still divide by 10 and end up with 2 over 10. Okay? And can I go from 20 to 30? Times
15.
15. Can you multiply 10 times 15?
Yes.
Which is 150. So bam. 20% of 150 is 30. Now the last one really is almost as easy because I can go from 100 to 50, or I could say, how do I go from 50 to 100? Either way it works. 50 to 100 is times 2. So the top times 2 would be, and that's my percent. It's 50%. Now doing the one, I'm going to do the one from the book again, or the one from the test, which was 4 is what percent of 10? 4 is what percent of 10? Now you just have to recognize this is the is number and that is the of number. When you do the little ratio box, the percent box, again, I always know this is 100. Is this box here and the of is there. And how do I go from 10 to 100? Times 10, right?
Yeah.
And 4 times 10 would be
40.
So it should just be that. Yes?
What happens if you can't, like, what happens if it was,
They're always going to work out relatively nice for you. Okay? It's not going to happen that you're not going to get a nice number up there, I don't think. The only time the box thing is not going to work out for you is, I'm sure there's probably gonna be one on tomorrow's test, but there's the way around it, was this one right here. Okay, I had a lot of people come to me yesterday and ask about this one. If you try to do that one with the box, it ain't gonna work out too good for you. So you just have to remember, there are two ways to do this. When you have the of number and the percent number right next to each other, it simply is MEF.
Move the decimal up 2 spaces and do it times 40.
Right, the word of means times, and oops. The word of means times, and because you know both of the numbers that are getting multiplied together, because you know this and this, you just have to take, like you said, Emmy said, you have to make this a decimal. You can't multiply 52. If you multiply 52 times 44, you'll get the right digits. You'll just not get the right answer because the decimal won't be in the right place. Anytime you work with percents, we need either change them to fractions or decimals, and like Emmy said, you move backwards 2 places. It's 0.52 times 44. So I'll do it like this, 0.52. It doesn't matter which one goes on top. You get 88 for 2 times 44. You put down your 0, 5 times 4 is 20. Carry the 2, you get 22. So you end up with the digits 2288, but that's not the answer because you have 3 decimals there, so you have to come back. The other thing I'll let you write on your notes is this. I'll let you write. Well, I don't know, do I need to? Let's do an example of, let's change 6% to a decimal. How do you make percents decimals? Here's what you just got to keep straight. You know, you're moving decimals, but you have to know, do I move it right or do I move it left? And to go from percents to decimals, McKenna, you
You put the decimal at the end, like where the percent is, and move it 2 places to the left.
correct. Okay. To change percents to decimals, you move it left. Percents to decimals get moved to the left. To change decimals to percents, change decimals to percents, you move it right. Move it right.
And is it 2 places?
Always 2 places. Always 2 places. Simply because when you talk about percents, you're always talking about 100. And when you multiply or divide by hundreds, you always move the decimal 2 places.
Okay.
Let's see here about probably talking about, let me find a good one here.
60.
This is where I would put a definite note to self. Okay. Write 0.003 as a percent. Okay, that's where you would check your note. I'm going from a decimal to a percent. So you look at your notes, and your notes say when you go from decimals to percent, you move it left or right.
Right. Left.
Right.
Right.
If you look at your notes, because it gets confusing. So this one just gets moved to the right, and it just ends up being 0.3%. Okay. But then on the other one, I mean, this one too, this is from decimal to percent, so you move it right 2 places, that's where 120% came from. This one here, we already did that one. This one, percent to a decimal, move it left. So you're gonna get 1.86, because it starts at the end and comes back. Always be careful when there's 1-digit percents, because that means you're gonna have to add a 0, correct? And you can only get 1 place, then you have to go another place to get 2 decimal places. What else we got here? These probably are the harder ones too. Fractions to percents. And what might make it easy, because I think a lot of you came to me and asked and we made this improper, which is fine, but you could also think about it this way. The number 2 as a whole number, 2 is what percent?
200.
No, the number two is 200%. It's a whole number, because if you move the decimal 2 places to the right, the number 2, you get 200. So you could think about this, if it's too much work, you don't like doing the whole improper fraction thing, you could just say, well, the 2 is 200%, and 2 that I have to figure out what 4 over 25 is as a percent. And what is 4 25ths as a percent?
1600.
16, why? Because when you do the whole box thing, you have to make it over 100, you get 16. So you just have to put the 16 with the 200 that you started with, so it's 216%.
Oh.
And so if you know, I mean, what's, the number 4 is what is a percent? 400. If it's the whole number 4. 0.04 is 4%. The number 4 is the same as 400%. Just like the number 16 is what percent? 1600%.
Oh.
16, you move the decimal 2 places to the right, is 1600%.
How about 20?
20 would be 2000, 2000%.
Oh, so
What about the number 100? 10,000%.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then let's look over here. The same thing would be with 250%. You could think about this way as well. Okay. You know that if you move the decimal back 2 places, you get 2.5, right? That's my decimal, but I want that as a fraction. The whole number 2 is the whole number 2. You could just write that as 2 and then figure out what is the fraction for 0.5. That's 5 tenths, 5 over 10, 1/10. Or you could put the 250 over 100 like we did and keep reducing it till you get 5 over 2, which will still get you that sort of thing. Those are probably the tricky ones. They're just other ones you want me to discuss? Okay.
Number 6.
Number 6. Is that the fraction one?
Yeah.
I would say for number 6, okay, you're supposed to give it both as a fraction and a percent, and you can pick whichever one you want to do first, whichever one's easiest for you. I would suppose the fraction is easy. And remember, fraction is part of the whole. What part of the whole is shaded? How many of these are shaded? 10. Out of how many total?
125.
25. Okay. I saw some other kids put 10 over 15. It didn't ask you the ratio of shaded to unshaded, it just said what fraction is shaded. So then this, okay, you just need to make into a percent. I would probably find the percent before the decimal. So how do you go from 25 to make it 100? You multiply by
4.
times 4 times 4 is
40.
so right there, you know your percent is 40. And if you look at your notes to change percent to a decimal, you move it 2 places left, so it's 1/4 less. Brenna,
Could you do number 1?
number 1. Number 1, I would look at my notes. Oh, I suppose we should do that. Well, let's write that on your little piece of paper too. To change a percent to a fraction, what do you do?
Make it over 100.
Make it over 100, yeah. I forgot what my notes were, but I'll do it here. To make a percent a fraction, put it over 100. And reduce if you can. Make sure you reduce. A lot of you are going to err by doing that. So back to my test. What number was it?
Wait, could you go back to the number 1?
Put the number over 100 and reduce. 'Cause that's what, actually, that little 100, that little percent sign looks just like 100, just kind of mixed up, so it is 20 over 100. However you want to reduce it is up to you. Maybe you know that 20 goes into 20 once, or into 100, into 100 5 times. Or, if you don't know, cut them both in half and keep working from that. 10 over 50. Divided by 10, you get 1/5. Any way you want to, you can get to that little 1/5 over there. Anybody else? Get that one. Percents to decimals, percents to decimals, percents to decimals. 0.51 to 51. Camille!
I know that you showed us how to write a fraction to the percent, like with the whole numbers, that whole, where you take like, if it was the 200. But can you show us how to do it, like if you like,
Made it improper?
well, yeah, make it improper, yeah.
The one that was 2 and whatever?
Yeah, it was 2 and 4/25.
Yes, I can. I can do that. This one?
No.
Wait,
Yeah, no.
This one?
Yes, that one.
This one, all right, if you're going the way of, let me erase this. Let's do this one. If you are